The sun hung low over the desert horizon, painting the sky in shades of burnt orange and deep crimson as the lone cowboy rode through the dusty plains. His horse, a tired old mare named Whisper, moved slowly beneath him, her hooves kicking up small clouds of dust with every weary step. The cowboy's name was Samuel Hayes, though most folks who remembered him simply called him Sam. He had been riding for 3 days straight, following rumors of work and perhaps a warm meal in a town called Hollow Creek. When Samuel first spotted the town in the distance, he felt a wave of relief wash over his sunburned face. The buildings stood like silent sentinels against the fading light, their wooden structures casting long shadows across the empty street. But as he rode closer, something felt terribly wrong. There was no sound of laughter from the saloon, no clinking of glasses, no horses tied to the posts outside the general store. The town was completely silent, as if it had been holding its breath for 100 years. Samuel guided Whisper down the main street, his eyes scanning every window and doorway for signs of life. Chairs sat overturned outside the barber shop. A newspaper lay scattered across the wooden boardwalk, its pages yellowed and torn by the wind. The church bell hung motionless in its tower, and even the wind seemed afraid to touch it. He had seen abandoned towns before, places where gold ran out or water dried up, but this felt different. This felt like everyone had simply vanished in the middle of an ordinary day. Then he saw her. A small girl, no more than 7 years old, sat on the steps of what appeared to be the old schoolhouse. She had dark hair tied in 2 braids, and she wore a faded blue dress that had clearly seen better days. In her arms, she clutched a worn cloth doll, as if it were the most precious thing in the world. She watched Samuel approach with eyes that seemed far too old for her young face. Samuel stopped his horse a few feet away and tipped his hat. He asked her what had happened to this place and why she was sitting here all alone. The girl looked up at him without fear, which surprised him. Children usually ran from strangers, especially rough-looking cowboys covered in trail dust. She told him that everyone had left when the sickness came. It started with the Miller family, then spread to the shopkeepers, then to the preacher and his wife. One by one, the townspeople packed their belongings and fled, heading east toward the bigger cities where doctors and medicine could be found. Her parents had promised to come back for her, but that was many weeks ago, and she had been waiting ever since. Samuel felt his heart grow heavy in his chest. He asked her why she had not gone with them, why they would leave a child behind. The girl explained that her mother had been too sick to travel far, and her father had said he would return within 3 days. He had left her with enough food and water, told her to stay hidden in the schoolhouse, and promised on his life that he would come back. So she waited, day after day, watching the road and hoping to see his familiar figure appear through the dust. The cowboy climbed down from his horse and walked over to sit beside her on the steps. He pulled out his canteen and offered her water, which she accepted gratefully. As she drank, he looked around at the ghost town and thought about all the promises that had been broken in this world, all the people who said they would return but never did. He asked her what her name was. She said her name was Emma, and her doll was named Rose. She asked him if he was going to leave too, just like everyone else. Her voice was steady, but he could hear the pain hidden beneath her words, the fear that she tried so hard not to show. Samuel looked at this brave little girl who had survived alone in an empty town, who had faced hunger and loneliness and fear without losing hope. He thought about his own life, The years he had spent wandering from place to place, never staying long enough to matter to anyone. He had been running from something for as long as he could remember, though he was no longer sure what it was. Perhaps he had been running from himself, from the responsibility of caring about anything or anyone. He told Emma that he was not going to leave. He said those words before he even realized he meant them. But as soon as they left his mouth, he knew they were true. He had spent his whole life looking for a purpose, a reason to stop running. And perhaps this was it. Perhaps fate had led him to this empty town for a reason. He was only now beginning to understand. Emma looked at him with uncertainty, as if she wanted to believe him, but had learned that believing too much could lead to disappointment. She asked him how she could know he was telling the truth. Samuel thought carefully before answering. He told her that she could not know for certain, that trust was always a risk, but he also told her that sometimes the people who seem the most lost are the ones who stay the longest, because they finally find something worth staying for. Over the following days, Samuel made the town his home. He repaired the broken windows of the general store and swept the dust from the schoolhouse floor. He found supplies in the abandoned homes and cooked meals for himself and Emma. He taught her how to care for Whisper, and in return, she taught him the songs her mother used to sing before bedtime. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, other travelers began to pass through Hollow Creek. Some stayed for a night, others for a week. Samuel welcomed them all, and Emma helped him run the small trading post they established in the old general store. The town began to breathe again, filling with voices and laughter and the sounds of life returning to a place that had been left for dead. One autumn morning, a man appeared at the edge of town. He was thin and worn, with tired eyes that searched desperately for something he feared he might never find. When Emma saw him, she dropped the broom she had been holding and ran faster than Samuel had ever seen her run. The man fell to his knees and embraced his daughter, tears streaming down his weathered face as he whispered apologies and prayers of gratitude. Emma's father had been delayed by illness and misfortune, but he had never stopped trying to return. He had kept his promise, even when the world made it nearly impossible. He looked at Samuel with more gratitude than words could express, and asked how he could ever repay the stranger who had saved his daughter. Samuel simply smiled and said that Emma had saved him too. He had come to Hollow Creek looking for nothing, and he had found everything that mattered. He had learned that purpose does not come from the places we go, but from the people we choose to stand beside. The greatest journeys do not take us across mountains and deserts, but into the hearts of those who need us most. The moral of this story is simple but profound. True courage is not found in grand adventures or heroic battles. It is found in the quiet décision, on to stay when everyone else has left, to keep a promise when breaking it would be easier, and to offer hope to those who have almost forgotten what hope feels like. Sometimes the most important thing we can do in this life is to simply be there for someone who is waiting.